Cowboy Jim, thank you. This is my fifth video for the day. I'm going to try to do 5 videos a day until I hit 400, and that'll be 400 videos in something less than 10 months. I think I have all of April and half of May, and so be 400 in less than 11 months. So it doesn't mean anything really. But if there are a couple of videos that actually benefit you, or someone out there, I'll count it well worth it. Truly well worth it. So today in the last video I mentioned about two members of NATO, one from Croatia and one from Germany, really giving Trudeau their impression of what he has done as Canadian leader. If you go back about 50 or 60 videos ago, I was referring to Trudeau as Canada's new and up-and-coming dictator because of the cruel way in which he had handled the Canadian truckers. And then as I'm watching, as I said, I'm kind of bored, and Yellowstone's not available to me, that sort of thing, and I really love that show, and I get an awful lot of joy out of watching English, not comedy. Geez, that's no, not comedy, but their mystery detective thought processing, their ability to take and incorporate so many directions within a movie and then pull it all together, and you don't have a clue who has done whatever until the very end, which is usually good. But as I was ruminating, thinking about these two members of NATO and how they had denigrated Justin Trudeau, and the lady, she just basically said, please remove yourself from us. Don't inflict yourself upon us. Boy, I'll tell you, Canadian Freedom Convoy. I had the tiniest little bit to do with being down in Coots and interviewing and being interviewed and watching the RCMP. There are some good RCMP, eh? There truly are. And there's a scripture, it says, if you haven't done anything wrong, there's no need to fear the police. Interesting thought. Yet we don't hold them in such high regard all the time. And if I, as a kid, had ever said that, my mom, my dad would inflict grievous injury on you, because the way I was raised, you were raised to respect law and order, honor your elders, speak respectfully, and be polite, and all those things. And I found it so humorous back, 70s maybe. Trudeau, a little later, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, not a handsome man. Oh, geez, no hair either. And that I remember, because I tried to forget him. And I remember him fingering a community because there were some protesters as he went by on the train, and he just stepped out and got his hand out the window and fingered them, and the reporter said, ask him, are you not concerned that these people won't vote for you because you just gave them the finger? And he said, you couldn't do anything to a Canadian citizen, and 3 months later, they will reelect you. And I think of Justin Trudeau, the recipient of being called a dictator, being called a person who governs in a democracy as though we were a dictator. And oh, that young lady, Christine Anderson from Germany, and she said, "Can you imagine a prime minister who openly admires CCP, Chinese Communist Party, who openly admires them, referred to them as the example of greatness because of how they could turn their economy around." And here, I grew up in Ontario. My judo instructor was an Ontario provincial policeman. His name, Tony Eccleshall, and he took me as a kid, and he taught me a few years along with the local baker, and his name was Don Hoskin. He was a tough, strong man, and Mr. McIntosh, he was a black belt. He was my instructor, and his son, Jim McIntosh. Oh dear Lord, you never would fight Jim McIntosh. Oh no. It wouldn't have a hope, never. And why that boy didn't go on to go in the Olympics, I don't know. He was that good. He was that good. And I watched on the news tonight that Ontario Provincial Police were bringing more charges against the leaders of the Freedom Convoy. And we're going to do everything in their power to send them to jail. It wasn't said, that's intimated. And I think of that young man who I allowed last year, in about June, I think. I allowed him to beat me up at work because it's not permitted to work, and I knew he was out to get me. He was an abuser, there's no doubt, and he was fired. Okay, that night that he assaulted me at work, and that was in June. I think in June. Since then, he has extended his court date, I think 4, 5 times before he would enter a plea. Now, you have to understand, he was caught red-handed on video cursing me. Well, he is upset. And I just really let him hurt me because I could have killed him. I was trained to do that by an OPP. When I was 14, he used to drop in at our campground. We had what was called Martin's Campground out Wasaga Beach. It was a pretty big campground. We had some rough people there with some good families there. 300, I think 325 campsites we had in total. It was a lot. And that wonderful OPP, he said, Jim, he would drop in. I worked constantly. And when I was 14, I would run the camp office store late. And he would drop in and I'd make him hot chocolate. And he was English, tall, really tall, skinny. And he asked me one night. He said, "Do you have what system of self defense do you have in here when you're a 14-year-old kid?" Like I set up my little billy club, and he says, "Jim, that's not good." He said, because if you use a weapon to defend yourself, remember, someone can take that weapon from you and use it on you. So he said, tell you what I'll do. He said, he was kind of a English army type guy, like as though we were a kind of commando type. He was kind of my hero. And so he said, I'll teach you how to survive and to use your hands. And he said, I'll teach you how to kill with them, how to survive without a weapon in your hand. And I still like a weapon, but anyways, I I remember when I was a kid, justice was meted out quickly, very, very quickly. My dear friend Helen, I was 11, she was 40. Her baby girl, 11 years old, I never spoke to her. She never wanted to talk to me, and I didn't know that she was deaf and dumb. And Helen killed her husband because he was the scum of the earth and had been turning that little girl out in lieu of paying the bread man, the milkman, the delivery men. Back then they delivered food. Well, nowadays I guess it's the same thing, done a full circle. But because justice was carried out quickly, people were concerned about it. Like you might be working this week and you do something profoundly stupid, your court case would probably be within 3 or 4 days. And you did good if you had a lawyer, if you could afford a lawyer. And generally, people didn't have lawyers, so they just entered a plea. Guilty, innocent, the judge judged. And Helen could have been hung in less than a month. She killed her husband with a butcher knife. And we had justice back then. And the judge gave her, Helen, she pleaded guilty. You'll find it in my videos. It's called Justice. Abuse. Unbelievable. I don't ever know what happened to that pretty little girl, blue eyes, blonde hair, didn't say a word, couldn't speak, couldn't hear. I didn't know. I was 11. And we have justice nowadays, and I'm telling you, I feel sorry for the police, for RCMP. They'll charge someone, and it'll take a year or more until they will actually go to court. They say it's because of COVID. Well, actually, it's not, because they do their court cases on video anyways. So I don't know what it is a result of. But justice is not meted out, and people become very lax and very unconcerned. And that's the way it is. Finally, about a week or so ago, that young man, Kyle Smith, pled not guilty. And so they set his court date to December 3rd of this year. I mean, think about that. So a person, 34, 35 years old, semi-fat, and he is, not a good fighter, and he sure can't throw a punch. He threw a punch, hit me in the ribs, only broke one rib. I mean, come on. Gonna throw a punch? Throw it like a man. So it will be a year and 4 months, almost 5 months from when he perpetrated that assault against me. Remarkable. So I'm pretty laid back about the police. If they're going to lay a charge and it doesn't come to justice for a year because people play the system is impeded then. I think of more charges coming against the Canadian Freedom Convoy, three of the main leaders. And I think, boy, I hope there's a G7 coming up soon. Eh? I truly hope that Trudeau is going to position himself to receive more rebuke from the world at large. People all over the world are looking and remembering the Canadian Freedom Convoy truckers. Oh, hey. What an honor to be around those dudes. Mostly highway truckers. I run haul truck in a mine, so on, when I'm working. And I really don't care if I never go back to work again. Shoot, I'm 72. Really. I don't care. And I'm sure not going to go and take a job where I have to shave. There are two mines up here. I could actually go and work without shaving. I'd love to. But I hope more people call Justin Trudeau out for his, the lady called him a dictator, eh? Christine Anderson, I believe. She called him a dictator. She said, you run women over with horses in Canada? You call protesters Nazis because some idiot had a Nazi flag? Tramples on fundamental rights, persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists. She ended her speech. I love this. It was so good. It was so good. She ended her speech by telling Trudeau that he was a disgrace for any democracy. And she said, please spare us your presence. Mislav Kolakusic of Croatia, he says, you block, you seize accounts of people who protest. He said, he's a NATO person from Croatia. He said, it may be liberal methods, but really it is the methodology of a dictator. So, yeah, more people are going to be charged, more charges, because Ottawa had a protest of a magnitude that they weren't used to. And Trudeau wouldn't even talk to them. He marched with Black Lives Matters, and he marched with LGBT community. I have nothing against Black Lives Matter. Well, they are primarily the root cause of all the billions of dollars of destruction that went on down in the States last year, and the people that were killed and beaten and stores ruined because Black Lives Matter. Grow up. All lives matter. LGBT, I don't care. People make their own lives. I don't have to dictate or have an opinion on how another person lives their life. That's their choice. I don't care. I don't care. I do care about Justin Trudeau and his fervor for law and order. They say he had his driveway done using government money that was not his to use. Is that true? I don't know. You ever hear of an investigation about that? But he's concerned about other people who disagree with him. Inequity, children. Okay. Thank you. You have a good day, and God bless.